Someone Better by I_am_Ellie on AO3. Episode 29. Chapter 23. I Want to Help You. Hizashi was lying in bed in a completely dark room, noise-canceling headphones fixed over his ears, and a pained, nauseating expression on his face. His eyes were slightly red-rimmed, and the pallor of his skin was pale and pasty, and he looked like he was going off the deep end. Shouta was never far from his bed, because Hizashi needed a constant dose of painkillers, and water and food. Even though he was completely healed from his surgery, he still hadn't completely recovered from his operation, in the sense that he hasn't adjusted in the particular loss of one of his senses, and it was taking a toll on his body. The migraines that wrapped the man left him bent over the tash bins and reaching. Dizzy vertigo left him pale and shaky and sweaty, and the knowledge that he wouldn't be able to hear the same way he used to had him keeping the noise-canceling headphones on at all times. Shouta thought it might be some form of denial. Izuku slept in the middle of the bed, right as Hizashi sighed, because Izuku wasn't completely healed from surgery, and Shouta couldn't watch him if his boyfriend got nauseous every time he stayed too far away from the room for extended periods of time. It simply wouldn't work, especially since Izuku had similar anxieties, now that he was home from the hospital, and he had time to process what happened to him. He was utterly convinced that something bad would happen to him every time Shouta left the room. It made Shouta want to yank his hair out and hold the boy closer at the same time. And it was odd, utterly confusing, combination, and Shouta expected many parents experiencing at least once in their life. Because Shouta had learned, unwillingly, through his time taking care of Izuku, that the days alternated between waiting to strangle the small child and wanting to do everything he possibly could to keep the boy in his care happy. It gave him an unimaginable headache. Izuku slept a lot, thankfully, though Hizashi didn't seem to have that luxury. The pain in his head and the nausea meant he was up during all hours of the night, which meant Shouta was constantly waking up as well. And an exhausted, horribly pained man paired with an irritated and crampy person wasn't a great combination, especially paired with a sick, sensitive kid. Hizashi, Shouta said quietly, and he tapped the man's shoulder softly. Beatedly exhausted green eyes glanced up at him. You have to get up. He said it slowly and almost inaudibly, because even if Hizashi could read lips fairly well, it was dark in the room. No, Hizashi said, eyes falling shut, and burying his face into a pillow. Shouta sighed, dragging a hand down his face, before tapping his shoulders again. Get up, he said when Hizashi finally looked at him again. You have to walk around a little bit every day. That's what the doctor said. This is what we're doing. Now get up. Hizashi sighed, slowly sitting up, wincing slightly, one hand falling to his stomach, and one on his forehead, though. Shouta noticed. He was careful to keep an eye on Izuku, as to not jostle him and wake him up. Shouta grabbed his hand and helped to stand him up, because Hizashi had helped him when he hurt his knee, and he was going to help him in any way he possibly could. Sorry, Shouta said, before gently easing the headphones off of Hizashi's ears. The apartment was quiet, unnaturally so, and blankets tackled over the windows, assuring that it kept dark. But that didn't stop Hizashi's pain from multiplying. Hizashi wasn't supposed to do any strenuous activity. No hero work, no lifting weights, no cooking, nothing. All he was supposed to do was lay in bed until he was ready to start working again. Little breaks of walking in between. That was his job. Shota's job was to make sure he did that. The doctor had told Shouta what to be prepared for when he left the hospital. Had told him that people in recovery, especially men, and especially heroes, could be prone to bouts of depression, or irritation, or anxiety while they were rehabilitating from whatever injury they were recovering from. Shouta hadn't had that problem. At least, he didn't think he had. But his injury, although horribly painful and incredibly intense, hadn't changed his life in any drastic way. And he had people there to talk to and watch movies with, and to complain about pain with. Hisashi's injury had damaged his hearing. Hizashi had people, of course, he did, but he couldn't talk to them. Not really without being in pain. Not to mention Nemuri had said she would be avoiding the apartment for a while, until Hizashi got better, for his sake. The doctor had told him not to be surprised if he didn't take to the rehabilitation well. It didn't take long for Hizashi to stagger down to the couch, face drawn and pale and clutching his stomach. Shouta wasn't completely sure, but he thought that the nausea might be the worst part of Hizashi's injury. It never seemed to leave him, not since his surgery. But the doctor had said that that was normal. Shouta hoped they were right, and that there wasn't any underlying issue there. Hizashi was leaning heavily against the back of the couch. His hair was tangled and dry, and strands of it were falling into his face. His glasses were crooked on his nose, green eyes glassy with exhaustion and painkillers, and he looked like he wanted nothing more than to sink down through the floor and disappear. "You shouldn't have to do this," Hizashi croaked, and it was more of Hisashi's voice than Shouta had heard in a while. Glaringly incoherent grunts and single-syllable words. "You shouldn't have to deal with this. This isn't your job." His head was turned to the side against the couch. Half of his face was smushed up against the fabric, and it only made his glasses more crooked on his face. "Stop talking," Shouta said. "You're hurting yourself." "You shouldn't have to deal with taking care of me," Hizashi said. "This was all my fault anyways. My quirk did this. I should have never have used it without my gear. You have Izu to think about. You shouldn't have to." "Shut up." "I mean it, Sho," Hizashi said. "I'm sorry." "I'm doing this because I want to," Shouta said. "Okay? I want to help you, and take care of you, and all of that. Alright? That's why I'm here." "It's not." "You looked after me when I was hurt. You looked after me. I'm doing that because I know you would do the same for me. Alright? I love you, and I'm going to take care of you until you see the end of this." And he would. Hizashi sat up a little straighter, and there was a little pinch right between his eyebrows, an odd look overtaking his face, like his mind was trying to make sense of something, or he was confused. He frowned. "I love you too," Hizashi said. Shouta blinked. "Yes, I hope so," Shouta said, slowly standing up. Hisashi's head shifted to follow him. "I think you should go back to bed now. We can walk around more later, and Izuku will be waking up soon." "Marry me," Hizashi said with all the seriousness someone high on painkillers could. Shouta froze. "What?" Hizashi cleared his throat, trying to shift forward, though he seemed to be listing slightly, side to side, head tilting this way and that. "Marry me," he had said again, before dizziness seemed to overtake him, and he fell back against the couch, blazing dazedly up at the ceiling. This continued for another 10 seconds, before he was shooting up off the couch, running across the room, and falling onto his knees in front of the kitchen's trash bin. Shouta followed him numbly, patting his shoulder awkwardly, as he was sick. What? We love high on painkillers, confession, or in this case, marriage proposal. Woo woo! If I had a nickel for every time I read a fanfiction where someone was high on painkillers and proposed to someone, I would have 2 nickels. 200, I mean. No, I read this a lot. It's a very interesting thing. Yeah, marriage proposal. Woo woo! This is a very interesting chapter. Obviously, we see the struggles of, both of them are recovering. Hizashi is very much the nausea and all of that. I think it's from the fact that, his ears were heavily altered, his hearing, it was damaged and stuff like that. And I'm pretty sure your ears help you balance as well. It's a big thing. I know when I started losing my sense of smell, it was hard. It was hard on me at first, especially when I started realizing that was going to happen. It's still hard on me because if it is continuing at the rate that it's continuing now, I can one day lose all sense of smell, meaning my lifestyle will change. In the sense of, one, you don't think this, but people live life with smells. If there is something burning on the other room, in the kitchen. Everybody else already smelling it, and I can't smell it, right? Even now with my low sense of smell. If I want to eat something and I'm not sure if the milk is spoiled or not, and I don't want to taste test it for it to see if it's spoiled or not, I have to go to someone to do that. And if I lose all my sense of smell, I can very well also lose the sense of taste, meaning I could be eating something spoiled without knowing. I very well could be eating something spoiled without knowing, meaning I would have to change my lifestyle in the sense of every time I open something, I have to write down what day I open it. I have to investigate, normally when does this expire after being opened, stuff like that. The day something hits the expiration date afterwards, I have to throw it out unless I'm 100% sure that that's not expired yet, stuff like that. It's all that kind of stuff that would change my lifestyle. And for someone hearing, obviously he's not losing it completely like me. I don't have my sense of smell completely gone, but it is partially gone, in the sense of also Hisashi's hearing is partially gone. Psychologically wise, losing a sense that is, something like that, you tend to realize, oh my god, I use this way more than I realize. I mean, hearing and seeing are one of the big ones for you. You're like, yeah, obviously. But sense of touch, you don't realize how much you use that, to navigate the world and shit. I mean, think about it. When one of your legs is sleeping, and I don't mean like, the pins and needles kind of sleeping, but like the dead asleep where you kind of can't feel it anymore, kind of dead asleep, and you're like, oh, well, try walking like that. It's hard. I know, I've tried it, and it's really hard to walk when my leg is fully asleep like that because I can't feel where I'm stepping, and I end up tripping and falling, face first. Or sense of smell. This is one that I realized. I used to be able to smell regularly. Like, I walk by people, or for example, I was, one day I was with my grandma, and my grandma's like, oh, I can smell that, so-and-so is wearing perfume. I'm like, you can smell perfume? Like, on people? Like, not right after they apply it? And she's like, yeah, it's a regular thing. I'm like, I can't smell that. Or the fact that I realized that there was a sense of smell for, when someone cooks. Like, no, I know that there's a sense of smell when someone cooks. I mean, like, I'm not stupid, but like, a sense of smell when someone microwaves something or puts something in like the air fryers to heat up. I didn't know that had a smell. I had no idea that had a smell. I had no idea until I was told that. I'm like, that's a smell that you smell. And she's like, yeah, that's a smell that I smell. And I didn't realize how much that's like a big thing. Or the fact that I'm forgetting certain smells and stuff like that, right? Or you don't realize how much your sense of taste affects stuff. Like, for example, I go off of texture when I'm, eating stuff. Texture and obviously taste and stuff like that, but mainly texture and the strength of the taste. Like, texture's a big thing in the sense of eating. Like, if something's crunchy and I really like that crunch, I'm gonna eat that more than often, even if it has a really, like, not a really bad taste, but like this isn't a really, really good taste. Like, I wouldn't necessarily, love this taste, but like it's a crunchy taste, so I like it. Chalk. I want to eat chalk. I want to get edible chalk. Like, I don't care if it doesn't taste good. I just want to nibble on it. Anyways, point taken. Or sense of, like, those senses, like, you don't realize how much those affect you, and losing a sense is really difficult on the mind. I, as someone who's experiencing current loss, small loss through time, I can't even imagine knowing that you're losing your sense of, you lost your sense of of hearing because of something that belongs to you as well. Like, your quirk is the one that did that. That, gets a whole psychological thing. Obviously, Hizashi here is like, hey, you don't have to take care of me, right? This is a little less of like, I don't want to be a burden, and I feel it's a little more in the sense of I'm torturing myself because I put myself in this position, therefore I'm the one who's supposed to fix it, because this is me repenting. This is me trying to punish myself for making a mistake because I feel this isn't enough of a punishment kind of thing. A lot of the times people self-punish themselves and stuff like that. I've been guilty of it. It's something that happens, but marriage proposals. Woo woo! Anyways, as always, my raindrops, make sure to eat, sleep, drink water, take your meds. Have a wonderful day or night. Link to my Discord server and socials are down in the description. Subscribe to see more of my content, and thank you so much for watching.